welcome to the Big Picture Manatee. We're back. Our mission here at the Big Picture Manatee is to provide a nonpartisan space. We're here to listen, learn, inform, engage, and educate the public about issues affecting Manatee County. But remember, all the views expressed here today are our own and not those reflective of the Big Picture Manatee as a whole. So I hope everybody's doing well. It's good to see you guys again. Glad we're able to get back together today. We're going to be talking about the budget that's just come out and just some highlights of things that we found out this week. Over $2 billion in the county budget this year projected. Over $2 billion in the 5-year capital improvement plan. And right. And that the big shock in that is that 17.5% is the increase from last year's tax base that's projected from the property appraiser that the county got here in the last few weeks over last year to this year. So, I mean, I think that's unprecedented, and we're going to be talking about the impacts that has. A couple more things you guys probably aren't going to be surprised about. 10,000 new people here in Manatee County. 10,000. So 431,000 people running around in this county, and then 10,000 more projected for next year. So that would lead us to say that today we're going to talk about public safety. And I'm Sherry Corrier, and I'm here to help educate the public, and I'm here with some great colleagues.
Thank you, Sherry. Hey, everyone. I'm Misty Servia. I'm a former Manatee County Commissioner. I'm also a certified urban planner, and I have more than 30 years of experience in both the public and private sectors. I'm so happy to see you guys again.
And I am Reggie Bellamy. I'm also a former county commissioner. I'm a proud veteran of the United States Army, and this is a great opportunity for us to throw where the money is.
For sure. And there's a lot of it, isn't there? All right. So we're going to talk about public safety. And I think with that, our audience probably wants to really know, when we say public safety, what does that mean? I mean, what is the public safety?
So when I think about public safety, I have what I call like the Super 7, and I may or may not, forget some parts of it, but I definitely think about, we have a homelessness issue. I definitely think about the lifeguards, animal welfare, indigent care, code enforcement, and then you have the EMS and the fire departments, and obviously the sheriff department as far as to protect and serve our community. So those are the things that I think about when we start talking about public safety. What are your thoughts, Misty?
Yeah, and let's face it, what's the biggest thing, the most important thing to our residents? It's that we live in a safe community, right? So public safety has the largest chunk of our budget, and rightly so, because safety is priority number one. I'll tell you, I took a look at this budget just briefly. It is so complicated. So I'm glad that we're talking about it and helping people to understand it and encouraging people to be informed. But one of the big disappointments that I have in this budget is how we're treating animal welfare. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later.
Yeah, and I think when we see this big increase, just a lot of people always wonder, how does that impact me in the everyday world? And usually the majority of folks are impacted by the sheriff's budget. And that looks like, it's up by about 18 million, a little over $18 million. Obviously, with more people in the community, more deputies, more work to do. There's some new things in the budget that have actually been in there for a while, but when we talk about the capital improvement plan in future meetings, we're going to see the sheriff's substation, the fleet building that's been, tossed around for a number of years, new property and evidence building, jail medical, and those are big ticket items been planned for, but have been having a problem finding a place to be located. So we're not really sure where those are at yet. We weren't able to really find that in the budget. So for those of you watching and looking at the budget information, which you can find online at the countymymanatee.org in the financial management department's budget section. You can go in and look at all those things. That's why we're here to kind of break down where to find things, what to look for. And, you know, for me, I'm a big data person, analysis and data. I want to know why we're doing something, what triggered something. So that's what I'm always looking for. I don't know what you guys look for as being the main things, but you know, from being commissioners, I'm sure you had specific things you targeted in public safety.
So the way I look at it when we're talking about the budget, I like to identify how does it hit home? How does the money hit the household, or the importance of making sure that the community is aware of where the dollars are coming from so they can feel like they're being served. When we talk about the sheriff department, I always think about, you know, protect and serve. When I served as a commissioner, my biggest focus, like the difference between me and my colleagues, is the community that I live in and a lot of the things that take place. So I always wanted to make sure that the sheriff got what he wanted, because here's something that in the community that I represented at that time and I still live in right now, the difference is, you know, we have a lot of concerns, a lot of issues. So it's important, you know, for the sheriff to get what he needs. Another thing that I want to make sure that's very clear is the need for ambulances. And I'm not necessarily sure where that is in the budget. I know it's up under the EMS, but I haven't identified clearly whether or not they budgeted for, you know, 1 or 2 more ambulances. But we definitely need to make sure we look at that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well said, Reggie. And I was looking at the budget and I see that the sheriff is getting 5 new deputies. And I understand the need for that. You know, Sherry, you told us 10,000 new people last year, which is exactly what we projected, right? And when you get new people, you need more deputies to help serve them. But you know what I was disappointed about is that one of those deputies wasn't committed to addressing the homelessness problem. You know, Deputy Jewett is out there every single day dealing with the homeless. And when I was a commissioner, I went out with her and she's getting burned out. You know, she does a great job, and I'm not saying she's going to leave, because I know that her heart is there, but it's a high burnout job and she needs some help. So I was hoping that we were going to dedicate one of those new deputies to that, and that didn't happen. We did see a lot of money going into a homeless shelter, but and I like that, but unfortunately, I think it's focused only on homeless veterans. Now, I'm not saying we don't need to help our homeless veterans, because we absolutely do. There's no one more important. But we're talking, what, 150 homeless veterans in our census in this area. And, you know, I just think that there are thousands of other people who are homeless as well. And what are we going to do with them?
Yeah, right.
So my thought about the homelessness and bringing another deputy in, you know, and this is where, you know, sometimes me and Misty differs. You know, I believe in the sheriff. I trust the sheriff to do what he feels like needs to be done in order for the organization to run and for our community to be safe. That homeless concern, Misty and I both shared that as a commissioner. I think the difference is where I am is one to look at what Sherry's talked about as far as being data driven. And we do know that deputy, you know, probably can use some assistance, but I guess where I'm curious is how is that looked at, you know, by the sheriff department based on all of the other issues and all the other priorities and things that he have within his chart to be successful. I'm not necessarily saying that it is or it is not at the top, but how is he identifying the need to bring one more? That's what my question would be. But more importantly, thinking about the crime, thinking about the way that we serve the community from the sheriff perspective, I would want to look at it from a mindset to say, what can we do from a different focus lens, you know, with the homelessness? And that's, I think that's the true challenge. With the growth, we do know when there's growth, there's not categorized growth sometimes, it's just growth. So where we have a population of people coming in for houses, we also may have some growth in the homelessness, which gives us an opportunity where strategically all of us need to identify options to impact.
Yeah. Well, you know, I can't help but say I've got a long history and a deep caring about human services and the programs that go along with that. And I think what we heard a lot in the last 6 months is we heard the people that deal every day with the homeless, both the sheriff's office and some of the service providers, Turning Points, and some of the others talking about what's really going on with these people. And these are multitude of barriers that they have. So whatever happens with anything of the homelessness services is it's got to come together. It's got to be a coordinated effort, which means you got to really put some funding in the programming as well. So you got the deputies, you've got them out there in that emergent situation, but then where are they going to take those people? Who are they going to hand them off to? That's got to happen. So later, whenever we do see that portion of the budget, let's hope we can circle back around and see where that's connected, because that makes a difference.
Yeah, good point, Sherry. I was going to say that in my opinion, I was kind of hoping that the ARP money that we had received from the federal government might be used to build that type of a facility, or to build more affordable housing, or something that we have always fallen short on being able to fund as a local government because it's so expensive. And it's like we got this gift of cash to kind of offset the impacts of COVID and help our community. And I have to say, I'm kind of disappointed that we're now using that, or at least part of it, to fund recurring positions in our county in public safety. So I'm with you. We could have another deputy out on the road, but where are they going to take these people? To jail? That's not where we want them, right, Reggie?
Yeah, and this is my point. This is my point. The elephant in the room, we were talking about homelessness and some of these issues we have day to day. No one wants to talk about mental health and how we're going to identify a way to support the strain that's going on from Centerstone and all of the other agencies in the community that strive to make an impact with the challenges of mental health. Why are we not discussing that? Why are we not identifying ways to support that? Because yes, the sheriff department can bring a deputy or two more, but we may need 4 to 6 more caseworkers in order for us to support some of those entities out there. Why don't we discuss, and maybe it's a later conversation, the elephant in the room? How is the county helping with mental health?
Well, every study you see now, every study in every work that we do, mental health is basically listed as probably the 3rd most important issue in someone's life. And we all know the pandemic made that worse. That's every family. You got bread and water, food, you've got a job, and then your mental health. And we can look statistically across every realm that you look at, but people's mental health matters. And so I think you're bringing up a great point that probably what is the role of local government? What's the role of the community? What's the role of the remainder of religious organizations and other people that deal with the barriers that people have in mental health is a topic in and of itself we should probably try to address going forward.
Yeah, big time. Mental health is a barrier to a lot of these problems that we have. And a lot of people have always asked me, like, well, how come the county is going to spend money funding this or that, or these nonprofits in this area? It's because we're trying to get to our core values here of what we have to do. One of the good things about this budget is that we're going to build out the jail medical, right? And as part of that jail medical, when people are in jail, they still have medical needs. They're going to have a mental health wing, is what I understand. So thank goodness for that. I think that is a really good part of this budget. And, my daughter's a mental health counselor here locally, and she has hundreds of people on a waiting list because she works for a state agency for people that just don't have private insurance or the resources to get what they need. So it is very underfunded.
Yeah. And I want to circle back to something Reggie mentioned about EMS and ambulances. because they're also have been stretched to pick people up that are having mental health. But when you move to saying we have ambulances in the budget, the most interesting factor of that is, yeah, they're in the budget. We put them on order, but they take a long time to be retrofitted and built and get here. But what we did see in the budget, based on the growth, is that out in North County, there's going to be a coordinated effort for EMS. There's also going to be a new substation, EMS station, excuse me, out in Parrish, which is, a rapidly growing area, and a few new staff people for EMS out there. And then what's our most important issue there? Response times, right? That's what those things need to be based on. People don't want to be waiting, can't be waiting 3 or 4 minutes for someone to come when someone's having a heart attack. So that's like the ultimate goal. If we're able to say next year at this time, when we're sitting here talking to the community saying, yep, that response time on ambulance responses out in East County was reduced by 10 or 15 seconds, then that was a well-placed budget item.
Yeah, tick tock, tick tock. When we're talking about that response time, I'm telling you, I had a personal experience where we did not have an ambulance, coming that needed to come north of the river. And I understand the importance of that response time and making sure we get the ambulance. But you spoke on a good point as far as it's a process. It's with it being in the budget, that's one thing, but moving it along and making sure we get the ambulance to the point where it's serving our community is the most important thing, and looking for a time frame of that. Now, another area, if I can talk on this, we're talking about animal welfare. We're talking about that when I was a county commissioner, we were trying to get a new facility built, and we were trying to transition some things to Bishop and see what we're going to do out east, and the facility that's right behind mom's house. The reality of it, we may need to pay close attention to animal welfare. I mean, we do know that a lot of the facilities that we have, are at capacity and are concerned. Some of them are old. So when we're talking about budget, how do we not only identify that, but the same thing as the ambulance, move it forward to the standpoint that we can make an impact? Give that some thought.
Yeah.
That's the common thread, right? And it's all about planning and trying to at least stay with the growth. And if we can anticipate some things and get ahead of it, that's great. Because the last thing we want is for a neighborhood full of people, 300 new people living in an area, and it's going to take us 5 minutes to serve them with an ambulance instead of 3 minutes. And 3 minutes is that heart attack, live or die situation. And getting back to the animal welfare, which is very personal and special to me, we had planned for that East County facility because that's where the growth is moving. The population center is shifting farther and farther east. I remember when we used to say that I-75 was Main Street, and I thought that was crazy, right? But now it's going beyond that. That is becoming where the central area of where growth is occurring. So in this budget, what we see is an effort to rehab the existing facility in Palmetto, which was built in the 1960s as a kill shelter. It had 25 rats in it last week. I don't know if you guys saw that. There's just a big problem, and not only servicing animals from the geographic location, but in attracting the volunteers that support those facilities. They don't want to work in a rat-infested place, right? So I'm just real disappointed that we don't have something planned for East County to help with animal welfare.
Yeah. Well, we're just, touching the surface on some of this, right? Because this is early in the budget. We're just like everyone else. We've just heard the first meeting. The budget message is out. People can read that online, and we don't know what it's going to end up being. But each one of these items are impacting it. If you just go back to something we said at the beginning, which is 10,000 new people this year in Manatee County and 10,000 more projected for next year. Well, there's data for that. You know, I said I'm a data nerd. There's data for how many people, how many dogs and cats. There's out there in the growth in North County when you're knocking down all of the wooded area, you got animals, you know, that don't have anywhere else to go. They're leaving the area. So it is a big issue, and it's a public safety issue. A lot of people may not like that subject, but it is an important one.
It's just so many things that I'm thinking about, you know, when you talk about the public safety. And yes, the growth is bringing us some challenges. I can't say that I'm disappointed with all the challenges that are out there. I think I'm encouraged that we have an opportunity, and the leadership has an opportunity to change the focus lens and look at it from a perspective of the impacts that it's going to have, that growth is having in our community. Should some things be looked at differently? Obviously, we all know that. However, the encouraging part is, you know, iron sharpens iron, and this is an opportunity for us to do what we say we're going to do, where we're going to educate and inform the community and put them in a position, you know, where they know the things that's coming up and they're asking the right questions. My biggest concern when you're talking about the budget and the public safety is the things that go on in the community that I live in, and some of the strides that the sheriff has made to change some of these things around. I mean, I'm sure there was some challenges, but I'm not disappointed because I see the change in the things that are making place. However, I'm encouraged because of this type of conversation and the willingness of the sheriff and all of the people that serve our community to make a difference, to actually listen, learn, and allow impact to be made from a different focus lens. That's where I am.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
good comment.
It's all, you know, thank you. Thanks. I know we don't have a whole lot of extra time, and people might want to know, why did we start off here? But we're here to educate and inform, as was said by both Misty and Reggie. And you can also see this information, and we're here to tell you where to find it, how to look at it, some little intricacies about what it means. And again, we're very interested in what's going to happen with this increase of tax dollars that are going to come into the county here. One little point we want to make, though, is that while there's a projection of 17.5% right now, that's a projection that ends up getting certified in the middle part of July. And when the board comes back after their recess at the end of July, then you all were going to really know. We're going to report to you what the exact amount is. And so that'll be part of what else we're watching. So Misty, what do you want to talk about next time we're here together?
Well, I like that we're focused on the budget, and let's talk about parks, you know, parks and recreation, conservation lands. You know, in addition to public safety, I think that's one of the most important thing to our residents. Well,
it sounds like, Reggie, sounds like that's what it is then we're going to be talking about.
Well, I'm sorry. I just got excited when she mentioned parks because of some of the things that's going on. I apologize.
That's all right. All right. So we're going to unfortunately wrap it up for this session, but we're really thrilled to be back with you, and we'll see you again next week sometime. Sounds like we're talking about parks and some of those things related. We'd like you, though, to, like you all did, thank you for subscribing to us on our YouTube channel, and ask you to do it again, do more, spread the message. You can still find us on Facebook and Twitter as well. And now, very exciting, we have our new website up, right, Misty? Love the new website.
It's up, and people can communicate with us via the website. So check it out.
And we check that, and we'll be happy to look at other things. So thanks so much. We really appreciate everybody watching today, and we'll see you next time from the Big Picture Manatee.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.